Right. I'm just going to share my screen. Did that work? Can everyone see my screen now?
Yep.
Awesome. Okay, brilliant. Well, thanks for coming along, everybody. So we're going to go through some kind of quick fixes, just a few bits that you can be doing that could make a big difference to the amount of traffic that you're getting to your website in the short term. So my name is Cheryl Luze. I'm from Wagada. So we are a digital marketing agency. We're based in the Old Mill, just opposite Stockwell House. And there's some of the team. That's the day we won the St Albans pancake race, our most proud moment, I would say. So we're going to go through some bits around search engine optimization. So this is basically about how you can improve your ranking on Google and how you can get more traffic to your website and how you can get found and get more visible for what you are offering. So just so that we are clear, we're not going to talk about the paid ads today. We're purely talking about the organic listings. So these are the free listings that appear on Google and that naturally, you know, that you kind of rank naturally for these rather than paying per click. I was just to say, actually, if anyone's got any questions, if you want to pop and we can have a look at those at the end. The key thing is that we're going to try and get you to page 1. Obviously, no one goes to page 2. It is the best place to hide a dead body. So even if we can get you to page 1 for fairly niche phrases, that will get you more traffic than appearing on page 2 for something that's a bit more competitive. So that is our aim. One of the challenges that we have in search engine optimization is that lots of people think they know what search engine optimization is, but actually it's a lot more complicated than people realize. It's based on so many different factors. So aspects of your website, to the content on your site, to the keywords that you choose, to the number of people that are linking to you from external websites. So there's so many different factors that go into ranking on Google. But if you don't do it, then you could be missing out on quite a few things, such as direct leads, people directly wanting to buy from you. But also things like brand building opportunities, raising awareness for what you do. You know, appearing on Google allows you to build your credibility and share your knowledge with people and very much look like the expert in what you do, as well as kind of getting your message out to your target audience. So if you're able to get your website to rank on Google, you'll find it a lot easier to get your message out to people. So I'm just going to quickly give you a brief overview of what search engine optimization is. So it's based on mainly on 3 things. So the first one is around the relevancy of the content of the website to the terms that people are putting into Google. And this is generally the aspect of SEO that people kind of already understand. So it's about the keyword. Does your content match the keyword that someone has put into Google? So this is all quite easy. Anything you do from a relevancy perspective is very, very easy. It's very much what we're going to talk about today because it's very much under your control. You can do it yourselves. You can go into your website and tweak that content and make it more relevant to the topic. The next aspect is around the authority of the website. So this is based on a number of factors, one of them being the age of the domain, for example, but another one is based on around how many links you have pointing to your website from other websites. So these are external websites, such as, for example, the Enjoy St Albans website. These websites are linking to your websites from there. And Google uses that to identify your kind of sphere of influence. So it works out how influential are you, thinking about how many people are talking about you and linking to you. Obviously, that's a lot harder because that's a little bit more out of your control. You're expecting someone else to do something for you. The last aspect is around quality. And this is something that's become even more important to Google over the past few years. So it's quality of the content of the website, the quality of the website itself. So technically, is it built well? Does it work? You know, is it quick? Is it easy for people to use? And the other thing that's become really important to Google is about the quality of the service that you're actually offering. So Google wants to go one step further than just looking purely at your website. It wants to see whether you're offering a high quality service to your clients, because it wants to rank websites that are providing a high quality service. And one of the ways that it will do that is by looking at reviews. So this is one of the reasons why we focus quite a lot on reviews on Google My Business, because Google will look at those reviews and see if you are offering a high quality service to your customers or acting in a responsible way. Okay, so one of the things we need to do is about building trust with Google. So, I mean, this works for Google, but it also works for your potential customer. I think both of them want to feel that they can trust you. With SEO, it's very much about consistency and developing trust and authority over a period of time. The website is well maintained and it's high quality, and that you're updating it on a regular basis, and that you are engaging people with it, then that's all going to you know, play off and help you in your aims to rank well on Google. It's generally not something you can do as a one-off. So in a general sense for SEO, it's something you do as an ongoing thing. It's not something you do and then you're done with it. It's generally not going to happen overnight. However, some of the tips that I want to talk about today are things that are quick wins and things that you can do and that can make a difference right away. And they're quite simple things that you could be doing yourself, so you wouldn't necessarily need to go to your web designer to do these for you. So the first thing that is worth doing is to get to know what your current ranking is on Google. So I think there's definitely lots of people that are guilty of Googling themselves to try and work out how well they're ranking. I don't know if anyone wants to admit to doing that. And basically Google will, sorry, my daughter's trying to come in. Basically, people, when you Google yourself, Google will look at lots of different factors, such as, have you Googled that website before, for example? Are you local to that website? So the rankings are all personalized. All the rankings that you see on Google are personalized. So Google will want to show you websites that are close to you if that's a relevant topic. So if you put the word takeaway in, for example, Google knows you're looking for something nearby and will present you local examples. If Google knows that you've been to a takeaway before and you've Googled that before, it's more likely to present you with a site that you've been to before. So it could be that if you're Googling yourself, because you've probably been on your own website before, that you're going to be thinking that you're ranking better than you are. Otherwise, some people constantly Google their competitors, and then they get frustrated because it looks like their competitors are ranking better than them, but actually it's just because it's on your own computer Googling them. So what I would recommend is not Googling yourself to work out how well you're ranking, but it's to use a tool which depersonalizes the results for you and lets you know how well you are ranking. So we can share these slides with you afterwards. You can just Google SEO ranking tool, for example, or some of these work very nicely. And they just tell you the personalized version of where you're ranking on Google. And I would very much recommend doing this every month. So at the beginning of each month, testing your rankings and just checking that nothing has gone wrong, there isn't any problems or anything that's affected your ranking. There are quite often Google algorithm changes, so it's worth keep checking your ranking just to see if you've been affected by one. There's actually one that's Google's brought out today, so we're just waiting to see what the effect of that is. So if you've been negatively affected by an algorithm change, it's worth working that out sooner rather than later. So when we're putting together a successful digital strategy, we need to think about how we can differentiate that, because it's all about competitors. It's all about what your competitors are doing and how you can differentiate what you're doing from them. So there's only 10 spots on page 1. So if you're in an environment where your competitors are very active, you're going to have to be more active than them and to differentiate and do something better than them in order to get one of those spots on page 1. And also we need to make you stand out. We need to make you memorable. One of the things Google is looking at is how memorable you are and how you can stand out. So we think of a story, basically. Think of something that will make you differentiate yourself from other people. So we'll talk a little bit about keywords. I think people quite often assume that SEO is all about keywords. It is the basic fundamentals. It is a starting point for what we do. So what I think I would recommend is spending a bit of time thinking about your keywords and brainstorming a little bit about the sorts of phrases that you could be targeting. Obviously, it's a lot more challenging for what you do than the restaurants and takeaways webinar that we did this morning, because they're kind of only offering one thing. You know, they're offering a takeaway service, whereas you potentially have lots and lots of different products and things that you're doing on your website. So you need to think of keywords for each of your products, and think of the different ways that people could be searching for those. Questions, I think customer questions will be really important. Something like what you do, Sally, I think the whole customer questions things is quite key, because they're not going to necessarily be searching for the solution, they're going to be putting their problems in. So, you know, they're going to be searching for solutions to their problems. So definitely, if you can answer the questions that people potentially could be answering, then you could be capturing those people quite early on in their research stages, and then sell them products that can solve their problems once you've got them engaged. Very much think about how you can optimize for locations. Obviously, at the moment, you're potentially targeting UK wide because because you're not open for people to come through the door. But actually, if there are any services or anything that you can target by location, that is a lot easier to achieve a strong ranking from that perspective. And obviously, when you can open your doors again, it's definitely worth thinking about how you can target locations. So anything with St Albans in it, for example, that definitely is an easier way to rank than trying to target something UK wide. So thinking about customer issues, customer needs, and related phrases as well. The other things that people could be putting in that relate to what you do. So I don't know. So for example, we talk about related phrases. If you're a website that talks about gardening, it could be things like, I don't know, seeds, soil, all those sorts of phrases are kind of related to the topic. And actually, you're going to want to be appearing for those, or at least the website being enriched for those from Google's perspective, so it can see that you're relevant to that topic. So what I would do is spend a bit of time compiling, and I like to do it in a spreadsheet because I quite like spreadsheets, but you don't have to do that, but just compiling a big list of all the potential keywords that you might want to target, that you might want to focus on your website. And there's various tools that you can use in order to test which keywords are actually going to be strongest for you to focus on. So one of the tools that we used to use quite a lot, and that I would used to recommend, is the Google AdWords keyword tool. But actually, Google doesn't let you use that anymore to research your keywords, and unless you actually have Google Ads running. So if you have Google Ads running, you will be able to use it, and it is the one I would recommend. But as you can see, what Google does now is that when it looks at the average monthly searches, rather than telling you what the monthly searches are, it gives you a really wide band. So it says between 10,000 and 100,000, for example, which is just completely unhelpful. So unless you've got ads running, you won't be able to use the Google AdWords keyword tool in order to test your ranking, to test your keywords, sorry, to see how many searches there are per month. So one tool that I would recommend you using is called SEMrush, which can be quite expensive, but if you can use the free 7-day trial and get all your keyword research done during that 7-day trial period, then that will definitely allow you to do your keyword research without having to pay for the tool. So what we're trying to identify is putting in all your different phrases and working out which ones to prioritize, which ones actually will attract the most traffic to your website for you. So another lovely tool that you can use is called Uber Suggest. What that does is it takes the Google Auto Suggest. So when you put something into Google and Google makes suggestions of other keywords that are related to that phrase, it gives you some ideas that are generally things that you can use for blog articles. So I put the phrase chocolate biscuits in, and it told me all the phrases that people have been searching which have other keywords around them, if you see what I mean. So things like chocolate biscuits cake recipe, chocolate biscuit cutter. So it just helps you identify some phrases that people are searching for that relate to your target phrase, but allow you to go a little bit more niche which is an easier way to sort of to rank and to get some traffic to your website. The other thing is you can actually use the Google auto suggest on its own. So you can put a keyword phrase in, and then you can start to ask questions, and you can see all the suggestions that Google comes up. So you can put like how, why, what, where, and then you can see all the suggestions that the questions that people have been asking around your topic. And this is one of the key things that Google wants us to do, which is to answer those questions that people are asking on Google. Google knows what questions people are asking, and it very much expects us, when we're writing our website content, to answer those questions. So a brilliant tool that I highly recommend, that's a lot of fun as well, is called Answer the Public. And you can put a keyword phrase in, and it will give you lots and lots of questions around that topic. So so I put dress in, for example, and it came up with which dress style are you quiz. So it gives you lots and lots of different ways of you know, putting your keyword phrase into a question that people are searching for on Google, that you can then write content around on your blog and use that to draw traffic into your website. So I'm going to talk a little bit about keyword intent, because this is quite important from what, you know, Google's perspective at the moment, in that Google goes one step further now when it looks at keywords. So whereas before it would take a keyword on face value, it's now trying to identify what the intent was of that person searching at the point that they put their search query into Google. And what it will then do is then expect us to provide content which matches that intent. So for example, there are 3 different types of search queries that we talk about. So the first one is an information query. So this is where people are searching for information on Google. They have questions, they have queries, they're putting those into Google. These tend to be longer phrases where people, they're not ready to buy at this point. They're at research phase and they are looking for information. So it could be questions, it could be that sort of thing. And then the next one is transactional. So this is where people are actually buying from you. So these are much shorter queries in general, and people are putting product names in, for example. And then the last one is navigational. So that is where someone knows what they want, they know the website they want to go to, and they're literally just going to that website. They might be putting a brand name in, for example. So so what we need to do is make sure that whichever of the phrases that we whichever the type of query it is, we need to match the content to that type of search query. And that's what Google will reward us for. If we are providing the content that matches the intent of the person searching, then that's going to get us a higher ranking. So just to give you some examples of informational searches, it could be things like what's the best Indian takeaway in St Albans. It could be how to make a jacket potato. There's lots of different phrases people could be putting in that are around your product or service. So you could be thinking about the sorts of questions people ask you when they ring you up, and you could be writing those down and getting ready to put those, you know, to put those on your website as blog articles, for example, to match informational searches. So something that we spotted when I was preparing the content for the webinar this morning was about the Google My Business rating, in that if you put in something that has the word best in it, then in Google My Business, Google will show you only those websites that have a rating of 4 or above. So it just shows how important the reviews are on Google My Business, how important it is for you to gather those reviews and obviously to get good reviews, because you won't be appearing for searches that contain the word best if you haven't got good reviews on your site. Just to give you an example of what you put, if you just put Indian takeaway, then it doesn't sort it by review. So it's really interesting actually that Google is doing that, because it's very much trying to show you the best restaurants, the most high quality ones, as rated by your customers. So your informational searches, they're mostly used in blogs. They tend to answer the questions people are asking. And these are your searches that are great for brand building, and they're great for bringing traffic into your website and for engaging your audience. You know, this is your opportunity to come across as very knowledgeable and very credible, so that you know what you're doing, and to get that message across your target audience. And then Google sees that content, and you know, if as long as it's informative and it's comprehensive, then Google will reward you for that and give you a higher ranking for basically providing a useful service to people that are searching things on the web. So this is the tool, the Answer the Public tool. Just thought I'd give you another screenshot of that. So here's some example of some of the keywords, some of the phrases that come up. So if you're stuck for ideas of what to write in your blogs, the Answer the Public tool is fantastic for giving you lots and lots of tips. So these are all the sorts of things that come up as ideas for you to write content around. So transactional searches, these are more around the actual product itself. People know what they want and they've put the product in and they want to go straight to that, you know, straight to a shop or somewhere that sells that product. So transactional searches tend to be more competitive, but they do bring traffic, direct traffic for people that are looking to buy your product and service. So they are very worthwhile. We need to make sure that the content of transactional searches answers the questions that people are asking, and that it's really, really comprehensive. I think people tend to be quite afraid sometimes of writing a lot of content on a web page because they think, oh, it's going to be really difficult to read, no one's going to be interested. But actually there's ways that you can present that content that make it easier for people to read. I mean, one of the ways that people tend to consume content on the web is that they will scan that content rather than actually reading it. So if you use lots of subheadings in your content, that allows people to scan a lot more easily, so they can just pick out the paragraphs they need. So you could have a really long piece of content and, you know, people don't have to read the whole thing. They can just pick out the paragraphs that are of interest to them. So we talked a little bit about local earlier. I know a lot of you are not targeting local phrases, but if there are any opportunities for you to target local phrases, or for when this is all over, they are definitely worthwhile you trying to target these phrases, because people that search and put a location in their search tend to be a much further down the purchase funnel. So they have a much higher purchase intent in that they are ready to buy because they are looking for somewhere where they can buy that product and service that is nearby. So to give you an example, if you put the word yoga into Google, then Google doesn't see that as being a local search term, and it will give you lots of general information about yoga, and it will give you a video on yoga for chefs for some weird thing. But it doesn't give you any sort of information about classes. It's all about sort of general information about yoga. Whereas if you put in yoga Hatfield, then Google knows you're looking to do yoga in Hatfield. So it gives you a completely different list of search results, in that it's very much more focused around locations and classes and where you can buy those things and where you can do those things. So if there are any opportunities for you to do that, it's much, much easier to rank, and it much better meets the needs of your local audience. So if someone is nearby, then you know, they would much rather buy something from someone who is local. So even if someone you know, like, so it depends on the search term, because some search terms Google knows are local search terms anyway. So if you put the word plumber into Google, Google knows that you're looking for a local plumber. It's not going to give you plumbers from the whole of the UK. So some phrases automatically generate local searches. Sometimes you have to put, you know, you have to make sure you're targeting your location in order to generate a local search. So I'm going to talk a little bit about how you can go about structuring your content around the phrases that you're targeting. So the ASOS website does this very well. So one of the things that we need to think about is making sure that we, when we're targeting a keyword phrase, is that we have a page on your website that is specific to that keyword phrase. And one of the things that I quite often see on websites where people are not ranking, it's where they've put a list of all their services on one web page, and Google looks at that and it all looks very diluted, and Google can't work out what to do with that because it's a lot of kind of different information. Whereas if you had one page for each of your services, then Google can clearly identify that you know, this is what you do and this is important to you, and you're much more likely to rank for that. And also Google can see that that's the page that we want it to show when someone searches for that phrase. So this is a really good example from ASOS, in that when someone puts in women's shorts into Google, you'll get this page which shows all the different sorts of women's shorts. Obviously, to rank for the phrase women's shorts is going to be highly competitive. So be much more competitive than something, you know, niche such as denim shorts. Whereas if someone puts denim shorts into Google, then Google's probably not going to show the women's shorts page, because Google doesn't see that as being as relevant to the phrase denim shorts as maybe another page that is purely focused on that phrase. So what ASOS have done is created new pages. So each of these are like buttons, each of these. So for each of these, a new page of content that is purely focused around that topic. So there's a page on denim shorts, there's a page for high-waisted shorts, and it means that Google can see that if someone puts denim shorts into Google, then Google can show the denim shorts page, and that is meeting the needs of that searcher much better than if it was to present the women's shorts page. And this is something that you could probably take advantage of from your websites, because just having a look at some of the sites, you know, the sort of local shops in St Albans, quite often the actual product pages are optimized quite nicely, but the actual category pages haven't been optimized as well as they could be. So when I'm talking about the categories, I'm talking about things like women's shorts, or, you know, if you sell gifts, it'd be like the word jewelry or mugs, or those sorts of general keyword phrases that actually bring quite a lot of traffic into your website. They generally haven't been optimized as well as potentially they could have done. So, and that's a quick win, really. Creating a page which focuses on a certain topic is a quick win for your website. So we're going to talk a little bit about how you can actually go about optimizing your content on your website. So once you've selected your keyword phrase, so say if we choose the phrase women's shorts, just as an example, so there's certain areas of the page where you're going to want to make sure that you've got your keyword phrase so that Google can identify and understand that you are relevant to that keyword phrase. So what the very most important place to put your keyword phrase is in your page title. So this is the phrase that appears right at the top of your website, you know, in the actual tab, kind of above your website in the browser. That's your title tag. And this is the single most important place to put your keyword phrase on your whole page. I mean, if the only thing you do after this webinar is to go and change that, then you will have made a big difference to your website. Quite often you see people have got the word home in their home page title tag, for example, and actually, you know, that's a really big missed opportunity, because you need to be getting a keyword in your homepage title tag. That's the most important place on your site to put your keyword. So so you want to get your keyword phrase in your page title, so at the beginning of your page title. So we've got the word women's shorts, we'll put women's shorts at the beginning of your title, and then you'd follow that with your company name. You'll also want to get your keyword in your meta description. So the meta description is the little paragraph that appears on Google. You know, in the Google listings, it's got the bit in bold at the top, which is the title tag, and then it's got a little paragraph underneath, which is your meta description. So that little paragraph doesn't appear anywhere on your website. It's purely used by Google to display your marketing message actually in Google. So it's really important that you fill that bit in, and quite often people don't bother to fill that in because they don't really know it's there, or they've let their web designer fill that in. And actually that's a really key part of what encourages people to click through to your site when they see you listed in Google, and that's your kind of marketing message. So it's really important. You're going to want to influence that, and you're going to want to make sure that that's optimized as much as possible. So if you're creating a new page, then you could put your keyword phrase in the URL of your new page. I certainly wouldn't recommend changing any of your existing URLs and putting your keyword in there. But if it's a new page and it fits, you could think about adding your keyword phrase to your URL, because that can help Google see the relevance of that content to that keyword phrase. And then there's some other places where you can put your keyword phrase or put variations of your keyword phrase, because obviously the most important thing is that this looks natural. You know, you don't want the customer seeing content on your website that looks like it's the same phrase repeated over and over again. And actually Google doesn't want to see that at all anymore. So Google very much wants to see you using synonyms, making the content look natural, you know, very much presenting high quality content. So I would definitely try and get your keyword or a version of it in your title of your page, so your main heading of your page. And then in the body text, you're going to want to use variations of your keyword phrase. So you're not repeating the same phrase over again. You're making sure that you are talking around the topic so that Google sees that you've answered the questions comprehensively. So if you've got a website about gardening and if you don't mention the words like soil and seeds and dig, then Google's going to say, well, you're not really talking about gardening because you've not mentioned all these phrases that are actually really important for someone talking about gardening. So you need to think about what would Google expect to see in a really comprehensive page of content. The other thing that's a really nice quick win that makes a little bit of a difference would be to add your keyword phrase to your images before you upload them. So when you're uploading an image, say it's a picture of, I don't know, some blue shorts, you could name that image blueshorts.jpg, for example, before you upload it to your content management system. And obviously Google sees that in the code. Just a little thing that you can do that reinforces to Google that you are talking about that particular topic and that, you know, your content is relevant to that topic. So we talked a little bit about the title tag. I just wanted to reinforce this because this is the key part of the optimization work that you need to be doing. So whether you can see that. So the title tag, so this is what appears in Google. When someone searches in Google, this is what appears. So the bit in bold, that's your title tag. So people need to know from your title tag whether it's worth clicking on your listing. So Nonos, for example, have put in their title tag that they offer pizza, that it's takeaway, that it's in St Albans. It's not a very enticing title tag, but it does do the job. It does tell you what they're offering and what they do. And the bit underneath, the little paragraph underneath, that's the meta description. So this, you know, your meta description is your opportunity to convince someone to click on your listing rather than somebody else's. So you can see what's bold as well, which is quite interesting. I put the phrase in pizza takeaway St Albans, I think. And actually, no, I must have put takeaway St Albans. So it's made the words bold where they match the keyword. So this is one reason why you really want to get your keyword in your meta description, because it will make that bold and then people see that and it stands out. So people think, oh, actually this listing matches what I've searched for because it's got the phrase that I searched for actually in the meta description. So this is an example from Casitas, Emma. You know, quite often in home pages, we'll see that the homepage title tag has got the word home in it. And actually what we want is, we want to get the main keyword phrase in your title tag, and particularly your homepage title tag. It can be quite tricky sometimes to think of a homepage title tag, because you've got to think of something fairly general to what you do. So potentially for Casitas, it could be something like gift shop, St Albans, something along those lines, or I don't know, interiors, interior gifts, homeware, St Albans, something along those lines, so that if someone's putting that phrase into Google, then Google will associate that with your website. And you can see, just that's the example of the meta description that Casitas have got there. I mean, there could be a call to action in there, for example, or a bit more information about what they do, just to make it a bit more enticing to kind of click through to the listing. So, so the quick wins that you should be doing in order to boost your ranking is very much the title tags. So that's the single most important factor, is tweaking your title tags, tweaking your meta description. So that doesn't actually boost your ranking necessarily, but it does boost your click-throughs. So this is what appears on Google. People see that and they click through. You need to optimize your content. So that does actually directly boost ranking. So if you can make your content look more relevant to the topic and make it answer the questions that people are asking, then that's all going to reinforce the whole quality side of your site to Google. And just make sure you've got your keyword in all those places. So just to reinforce as well, so you want one page for each of your keyword topics. So not necessarily for each keyword phrase, because some of them might mean the same thing, but for each of your topics, you need to have your own page on your site for that. One thing that people quite often do wrong is that they think if they optimize all their pages for all their keywords, then that's going to help them. But actually that would have the opposite effect, because Google then doesn't know really which page to rank for those phrases. And also make sure that all your title tags and your meta descriptions are unique. So Google can clearly see that there is a difference between the pages. So if you have never edited your website before, I'm sure you don't want to incur any extra costs at the moment. So I've just got a couple of examples of different content management systems and how you'd actually go about editing your title tags and your meta descriptions. So lots of people have WordPress websites. So if you are using a WordPress website, then in order to be able to edit your title tags and meta descriptions, you need to be using an SEO plugin. So there are various SEO plugins. The one that is most well known is called Yoast. So hopefully your web designer would have installed Yoast at the time that they created your website. And it is quite nice because it does help you with some of the optimization work as well. It creates a little traffic light system. So if you don't have Yoast installed already, it's really easy to install. It's just a little plugin. I've just put a link there to a blog article that can show you how to install Yoast if you don't have it already. And what you see when you go into Yoast, so if you go into, just choose one of your pages on your website, and if you scroll right down to the bottom, this is what you see. So if you see the SEO title box and the meta description box, under SEO title, you can see some little bubbles there, and you may or may not see this in your website, but that's where they've been automatically populated. So the title and the page and the site title, they've automatically been populated in this website. So what I would recommend doing is just clicking into that box, deleting all the automatic population and filling in your own title tag that best matches the keyword that you've researched. And then underneath you've got your meta description. So you are limited on how long your title tag and your meta description can be. So WordPress is lovely because it actually tells you how many words, how many spaces you've got left. So it does need to be, your title needs to be between 60 and 70 characters, including spaces. And then your meta description needs to be around 160 characters, including spaces. So, but if you're using WordPress, then it automatically tells you that, which is lovely. Some of you might be using Wix, but it's quite a similar thing as if you click on the little cog that's right next to the page and it says page SEO. And the only difference is that it calls it something slightly different, and it calls it title on search engine and it calls it page description. So that's the only difference when you're using Wix. There's just a link there to an article which tells you a bit more how you can optimize in Wix with all your keywords. So one of the things that's really key that Google values enormously on a website is about adding content on a regular basis, which is one of the reasons why we would always recommend adding blog articles, because they are a great way for bringing in additional traffic to your website. They keep the website fresh. They tend to rank for a wide range of different phrases, and they do capture people at the point, quite early on in their research phase. So it's a great way for you to build your brand, to get your name known, and to get people familiar with what you do. And the other thing is that even if you're offering a local service and people are finding you, all across Britain, it's not necessarily a bad thing, because one of the things that Google is doing is looking at how people are interacting with your content. So the more people you can get to visit your website and interact positively with your content and read your content, then the more that Google kind of values your website. So even if those people never buy from you, it can give you some kudos points from Google's perspective and help you to rank better. So it's definitely worth focusing on some of your blog content. So we always recommend a minimum of 500 words for your blog content, which is about a page of A4. However, there's lots of evidence that really, really long content does rank much better than short content. And there was some research done by a company called Backlinko in 2016, so it's a couple of years ago now. And they said that the average first page result contains 1,890 words, which is massive. This presumably must be for more informational queries, because I don't think you want to put that much content on you know, on transactional pages, on product pages. But actually it kind of makes sense, because if you've got a really useful how-to article on your website which you know, shows people exactly how to do something, is long and is informative, is comprehensive, then potentially it will be, you know, it will be a longer piece of content. So Google does value that. So just don't be afraid of writing long content, but just think about how you can present that content in a way that makes it easy to read. So having lots of kind of white space in there, having images, using subheadings, using bullet points. All these things are a great way of making the content really easy to scan, so that people don't feel they have to read a huge bulk of content. They can just go through and pick out the bits that are of interest to them. So when you're writing content, you need to think about the intent of the user, so the intent of the person who's searching for that phrase, and what information they would be interested in if they search for that phrase. So are they looking for information? Are they looking to buy a product? Make sure you focus it around a keyword phrase that you have researched and that you've targeted. Make it comprehensive and informative, and make sure you space it out in a way that makes it easy to read. So I just want to talk a little bit at the end about Google My Business, because obviously with all the shops closed, your kind of shop front is not, you know, is not as visible as it was in the past. But you can use your Google My Business profile as your virtual shop front, and that can kind of bridge the gap between your website and the consumer. So where people have not maybe arrived at your website yet, they can still peruse your virtual shopfront using Google My Business. So there's lots of great things you can do on Google My Business. So presumably you've all got your Google My Business set up. If you're having trouble finding it, if you Google your company name plus the town, so you Google it plus St Albans, then it should come up on the right hand side of the Google search results. You should be able to find it quite easily. So if you've not claimed it yet, then there will be a little box on there that says claim this listing. So you'll be able to claim it and verify it, and then you'll be able to manage that and own that listing. So there's lots of things you can do on your Google My Business listing, such as, for example, you can add a whole load of images. If you don't add images, then you sometimes get you just get the automated image that Google has taken as it drives around, which could potentially not be very attractive. So it could just be you know, your building with the dustbins outside, for example. So it is worth uploading some more attractive images, you know, of the building, of your products and services, and also of the people. You know, I think people very much buy people, and this is something we're seeing very much in the pandemic, that I think everyone's coming back a little bit more to community and family values. So the more you can humanize your brand, and the more you can show people the you know, the people behind the company, I think the more success you will have during this time of the pandemic. People don't want big corporate messages at the moment. They want to buy from individuals, and they want to be inspired by individuals. So definitely think about how you can use your images on your website to help people get to know you, because that also breeds trust as well. I think trust is a key part of what we're seeing at the moment as well. So you can add events, you can add news, you can also add posts to say what you're offering during the coronavirus. So you might say that you're not open, but you are still servicing clients through delivery, whether you're doing local delivery or nationwide delivery. There's a lovely questions and answer feature that you can use, that you can ask and answer your own questions. So for example, someone might ask a question about, do you deliver? You can ask that question, and then answer it. It's not actually as weird as it sounds. It becomes a bit more like an FAQs when you do that. There are lots of Google My Business listings where the questions and answers have actually been removed by Google, because Google's struggling at the moment to keep on top of sort of checking those before they go live. So it may be that yours isn't live at the moment, but in which case that's something, that's a feature you could add on at a later date. And just make sure you check your category in your Google My Business, and check your address for consistency. So you need to make sure that your address on your Google My Business absolutely 100% matches the address that you've got on your website and on other listings. So that's the way Google kind of verifies that you're the same company. It compares the different mentions of your company and its address across the web. So reviews are really key on Google. Google uses these to try and assess the quality of the service you're offering, and it does feed into the rankings. And they're also great for conversions. You know, people are much more likely to click through where someone's got a lot of reviews. It does create that kind of trust signal to people. Google puts a lot of weight on the Google reviews because it can verify them. Obviously, you need to have a Google account to leave a review. So Google knows a lot about the people that are leaving reviews, so it knows whether they're real people or not. So Google does place quite a lot of weight on those reviews. A couple of quick tips is that if you can get someone leaving a review to leave a keyword in that review, then that's much more powerful. So, you know, say you, I don't know, so you sell shorts. If you can get someone to say, oh, I bought these great shorts, they're amazing, then that will definitely help you out. Obviously, I wouldn't want to suggest in any way that you should fabricate the reviews, because Google can very much check. You know, it can track IP addresses, it can check whether a review is real and if it's natural or not. But sometimes, if with the way you're asking for a review, you can potentially ask that question in a way that makes them use the keyword. So if you said, oh, could you review the shorts that you bought on Google My Business, you might have more chance of them putting the keyword in when they write the review for you. And then the other thing that's really key is about responding to reviews. So making sure that when someone leaves your review, that you are then responding to that review as quickly as possible. There is some evidence that if you respond within an hour, then that has a bit more weight than if you respond a little bit later on. In fact, there's evidence that if you get a really bad review, the quicker that you respond to that, the less negatively it affects you from Google's perspective. And it kind of makes sense, because if you are a company that addresses negative reviews and negative comments from customers in a timely manner, then that shows that you're a responsible business owner. So it kind of makes sense for Google to do that, I think. So during the coronavirus, Google is struggling a little bit to keep up to date with the Google My Business update. So some of the functionality is not working, and some of the posts may not be working for you. There's an article there if you wanted a bit more information. But it really does depend on the account, because we manage quite a few different clients' Google My Business accounts, and it's not all accounts have been affected the same. So some of the accounts you go in, and this is what you see on the main homepage of Google My Business. And it tells you that there is limited functionality, whereas on other accounts it's not doing that. But you can see quite clearly on the left here that Google is giving you the opportunity to tell your customers what you're doing during the coronavirus crisis. So you can update your business hours, you can write a post where you talk about what you're offering, what you're doing during the coronavirus, and publish your content during this time. So I definitely would recommend doing that and making sure that you've kept kept your Google My Business up to date with your information of where you are and what your business is doing at the moment. So that's about it. Does anybody have any questions? Need to work out how I view the chat. Oh, there it is. Would you include location in page optimization? Yes, that's Louise. So Louise says, would you include the location in the page optimization? So I definitely would include the location. So if you are, if you are targeting local customers, then it would be much easier for you to get a ranking and to get traffic if you include the location. So say, for example, you're selling umbrellas, and if you put, if you optimize that for umbrellas St Albans, then people in St Albans are much more likely to find you, and you'll rank better in St Albans. The only thing about that is that if you really are trying to target nationwide searches, then it could potentially put some people off that are looking to buy something online that may not realize that you are selling online. If you're using a local search, the implication is that someone has to go to a shop to buy that thing. So I think very carefully about including a location search. If you're only delivering locally, then I absolutely would put a location in your location search, because that makes complete sense to to what you're trying to achieve. Does anybody have any other questions? Thanks, Conia. So we are recording this, so we could potentially share it, could we, Denise? And we can share the slides. Okay. So Emma's got a question. She says that does the content, longer content is better, but does the content have to be unique? And this is really important, actually. It's very, very key that the content is unique. You don't get penalized for duplicate content, but what happens is Google actually devalues pages which contain duplicate content. So it will potentially remove that page from Google's index and certainly not rank it very well if it contains content that is duplicate with other pages. So that's one good tip, actually. If you are selling a lot of products online and you're getting the product descriptions from your manufacturer's catalogs, your content is potentially duplicate with thousands of other websites that are selling the exact same thing. So if there is an opportunity for you to rewrite some of that content to make it more unique, maybe put some more questions and answers in there, then actually that would give you an advantage for ranking over the other websites that all contain the duplicate content. Can it be, is that Donna, can it be from an affiliate? What did you mean by that, Donna? Do you want to unmute yourself?
Yeah, just, I meant, sometimes people might blog about you and mention you. Can you add that onto your website?
So kind of link back to them and say, we got this mention from that person. Is that what you...
Yeah, well, just could we add that onto the blog page of our website, so we can have our own, and then like if a social media, blogger or whatever does a blog and mentions Chloe James lifestyle, have got the best jeans fit this season or something, can we add that onto our page? Is that a good thing to do?
So you wouldn't want to copy and paste that content over, because then that would be duplicate content. So Google would see the same content on your site as theirs. I mean, if a blogger has blogged about you and then linked to you, which is the ideal scenario, then actually that's really, really valuable for you. And you actually wouldn't then want to link back to them, because that creates a reciprocal link. So the ideal scenario is that people link to you and you don't link back to them, if you see what I mean, because otherwise it just becomes too easy. There used to be, when reciprocal linking still worked, so it must be about, I don't know, 5-8 years ago, something like that. There used to be all these websites where you could go on and like swap links with other companies, and Google got wind of that. So actually having a reciprocal link where you link to them, they link to you, is a lot less valuable than just having a one-way link. A link is a bit like a vote, I suppose. So, they're voting for you. You're not necessarily going to vote back for them. So, so the ideal scenario is that probably that you wouldn't link back to them, and you wouldn't repost that content on your site. You could, if you wanted to demonstrate how much that person liked what they found, the clothes or whatever it is, you could maybe rewrite another article and say, oh, we were really happy that this blogger wrote this article about us. And you could even include the article as an image potentially, or as a PDF, or a little snippet from it, something along those, or even just like include it as a testimonial, like they said this, they said the clothes were this amazing, as a kind of kudos, building thing. Does that make sense, Donna?
Yeah, that's good to know, because I was still stuck in the idea of, getting content from other people, and that boosted your value on your website. So we have just reinstated our blog page and put somebody else's blogs on there. So obviously I'll take those down and do some of our own.
Yes, I definitely recommend.
I guess if it's original content that somebody has written for your website is better than if they're posting it externally. So, you know, what I've got, you know, people to do on the Enjoy site is, you know, write specific blogs for that site that hopefully aren't going out elsewhere.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So you could encourage other people to blog on your site. So that could be something you could do, Donna, is that you could get influencers and offer them the opportunity to kind of guest blog on your site, which then is their profile. And then what would be quite nice about that is that sometimes they then share that article on social media, or they might link to it from their own website. And then that's kind of a great way of building your profile up and getting people to raise awareness for what you do. Or you could do like questions and answers, you know, an interview with an influencer, put that on your website, and then potentially they might link to that, which can be a nice way of building links as well.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you.
All right, has anyone got any last questions? Okay, brilliant. So
I like the look that everyone's sitting there making mad notes.
So if I send you the slides, Denise, so you...
Yes, please.
Yeah. Okay. Brilliant.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Cheryl.
Thank you. Right. Take care, everybody.
Bye.
Bye,
Cheryl.
Bye.
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 Bye.